welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle, and this is the first weekly wrap-up for March Mystery Madness. Before I get into the books that I read this week, I need to show you the book that I found that fit the prompts for the previous round of the 2x2 mystery game. Now, those were to find a book with an urban setting and a male detective. So I looked first through my TBR cart, which is holding my enormous pile of possibilities for the month. And so I found Joe Country by Mick Herron. This is the next up in the Slough House series for me to read. So it is set in London, which is an urban setting, and it has a male detective. It has multiple male detectives, but let's go with the leader of the slow horses, Jackson Lamb, he's such a great character. So this is what I found for this round of the 2x2 challenge. Stay tuned to the end of the video where we will play another round of this game, which is proving to be very fun. Okay, on to the books that I read this week. The first book is actually not even a March book. I read it on the 28th of February, but I had already filmed my February wrap-up, and so I just decided to throw it in here because it's a mystery anyway. And so I read, this is the third in the Monk series by Lee Goldberg, Mr. Monk and the Blue Flu. I'm making it fit because Lee has double E's in his first name. So, this is a cozy mystery series based off of the TV show Monk, which I love, and I've been blowing through these books. They are just so much fun. I love being able to picture the characters from the show in my mind as I read the books, and he's caught them so well. The tone of the books matches the tone of the series. The characters and personalities are all the same. So it's just so much fun. These are told in the first person perspective of Natalie's. It's told in the first person from Natalie's perspective, and I love that as well. Natalie is his assistant. Mr. Monk, in case you don't know, is a private detective in San Francisco. He has a whole bunch of anxiety disorders as well as OCD. And so even though he used to be a police officer, he cannot work as a police officer, and so he's a consultant for the police. And Natalie is his assistant, and yeah, I just love this series so much. My very first official March Mystery Madness read was Double for Death by Rex Stout. This is the first in his Tecumseh Fox series. Tecumseh Fox is a private detective, and there weren't very many in that series at all, and this one turned out to be the first in it, so that was perfect. This one was just the perfect book for March Mystery Madness for our theme because it's got double in the title. It even says murder 2x2 on the back. There were 2 murder weapons, 2 suspects, 2 motives. Yeah, it was just perfect. I believe this is from 1939, and it's set in New York State. And I really enjoyed this. I already knew that I enjoyed Rex Stout's writing, and as a mystery, this was just really, really good. And one thing that I loved about it was that it really felt like the reader was being dropped into an already well-established world. I actually, partway through the book, I went on to Fantastic Fiction to check where it was in the series because I was convinced that it wasn't the first one. That's how well established the world and the characters were, but it was the first one, and I really, really liked that. I also loved the banter between Tecumseh and his kind of second in command at his private investigation firm, and I've already forgotten that guy's name. It doesn't matter. He calls him his vice president, which I think, it's Dan, which I think is a bit of a joke because, I mean, Tecumseh seems to work out of his house. He doesn't seem to have a massive agency. So anyway, so the banter between them is hilarious because Tecumseh will give him an assignment, tell him to do something, and then Dan will say, well, wouldn't it be better if, and Tecumseh will cut him off and say, no. And that happens over and over and over again. Wouldn't it be better if? No. So yeah, I really enjoyed this first one. I don't think I have any of the others in my collection yet, and I will definitely be on the lookout for those. And then I read Miss Zukas and the Library Murders. Now this one by Joe Dereske. This was a recommendation from one of my subscribers. So thank you, Nadine, for recommending this book to me. This was really fun. This was a cozy mystery set in Washington State. And it's set in a library, which I always enjoy cozy mysteries set in libraries. I mean, come on. This is the first in a series, and it was written in 1994. I'm a sucker for mysteries that were written in the 90s. So that was really fun. So Miss Zukas works at the library, and she comes to work one day to find that a body has been discovered in the stacks. And so she kind of turns into an amateur sleuth. I thought this one was really fun. There's this weird kind of just dropped in there, no explanation, no further comment, little tidbit about Miss Zukas. She's having lunch with her mom, and her mom offers her a grape. And I shouldn't keep calling her Miss Zukas. Her name is Wilhelmina. And Helma says, "You know I don't eat purple food," which is just such a great personality trait, character trait. I just thought that was really funny. I loved that it was set in the 90s, so you get that you don't have cell phones or internet, and if you are trying to figure out who's calling you, or if you have a number but no name, you have to actually look in a book called a reverse directory, and I remember those. But yeah, I love that. I love that added complication to solving a mystery. The other thing that I thought was interesting about the character of Helma is that she's a woman in her mid-30s, and yet I kept visualizing her as a woman in her 50s. Just her personality, her character, the way she behaves. Just kind of, she felt a lot older than she was. So I thought that was an interesting way to write a character. Anyway, this one was really fun. So thank you again, Nadine, for recommending it to me. And then I read, and I should say, this wasn't on my pile of possibilities, but I've made it fit for March because there are 2 bodies in this mystery. Okay. I read the latest in the Peculiar Crimes Unit series by Christopher Fowler. This is London Bridge is Falling Down. I adore this series so much. I love it. I love the quirkiness. I love the world that Christopher Fowler has built for these 2 senior detectives. Bryant and May are in their 80s, and they are still part of the Peculiar Crimes Unit and still investigating crimes, and I love it. I'm there for it. I'm there for all of it. This one fits for March Mystery Madness because they are a pair of detectives. There is this fantastic description of Arthur Bryant in here that I wanted to read to you. Mr. Arthur Bryant was a living legend only in the sense that he tended to come across as a fanciful conceit built up around a kernel of truth. Ageless, graceless, penniless, ineluctable, and occasionally insensible. A champion of underdogs, an enemy of overlords, a beacon of bewilderment in uncertain times. Also, London's longest-serving detective. Beloved by staff, detested by bureaucrats. He was perhaps not the best ambassador for modern policing methods, but by crikey, he knew how to track down a murderer. That was so good. I love that so much. The other thing that I love about this series is in every book we get a memo that Raymond Land writes to the rest of the unit. He's the unit chief. And he writes this memo, he writes a memo, every book we get a memo by him, and they're always just so funny. He includes a staff roster, and then he gives, you know, he talks about kind of what's been going on, information they need to know. But one thing that I liked in here is the memo included like what the Peculiar Crimes Unit is, why they exist, which is helpful this far along in the series because it's kind of easy to forget. It's a unit that was created in the 40s for a very specific purpose, and here it is. A Metropolitan Police Special Unit founded in 1944 with a remit to prevent or cause to cease any acts of public affright or violent disorder committed in the municipal and communal areas of the City of London. So if you've never read the Peculiar Crimes Unit series, please give it a shot. They are so, so good. So that's what I have read this week. Let me tell you what I am currently reading, and then that will be it from me. I am in the middle of Witness for the Prosecution and Other Stories by Agatha Christie. This is where I am at in my read-through project. This was published in 1948. Now, here's where it gets interesting with Agatha Christie, because the books that are published, the short story collections in the UK aren't the same as the short story collections in the US. And therefore, it gets complicated in trying to figure out if you've read all of the short stories or not. But I'm doing the best I can. This one is Adele, so this is a US collection. So I've actually already been thinking that there's some of these that are rereads for me, but that's okay, because the most important short story in here for me is Witness for the Prosecution. I hadn't read it yet, and I'm so excited to get to that one, because that one is a famous short story of hers. I am also reading A Vow of Silence by Veronica Black. This is the first in a series that is set in a convent in Cornwall, which is fascinating. Our amateur sleuth is Sister Joan. And this was a recommendation from a friend of mine who lives in BC, and she loves these books and she's been rereading them. This was written in 1990, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I am also listening to Murder in Old Bombay by Nev March. This is a reread for me, but I've decided to join Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye Loves Books, her read-along on Goodreads, and I was just going to reread the book, but then I thought, why don't I see if I can find an audio version, and then I can listen to it while I make a puzzle or something. And so I found a great audio version at our library that I was able to check out, and the narrator is Zukas, and I really love him as a narrator. He's fantastic, and I'm enjoying revisiting this story in a new format. And then last but not least, I am also reading Something to Hide by Elizabeth George. This is the newest in her Detective Linley series. This is, it's been 4 years since we've had a book from this series, so I'm super excited about this one, and I'm doing very well through this one, and I'm really loving this one. The story in this one is fascinating, but I will save all of that for a wrap-up. So there you have it. That's what I have read and what I am currently reading. Have you read any of these books? I would love to chat with you about them in the comment section down below. And before I leave, it is time for another round of the March Mystery Madness 2x2 mystery game. It's time for the next round of 2x2 mystery game. Which categories are we going to get this time? Roll number 1 is a 6. So that is point of view. So are we going to get a book that is third person or first person? Roll number 2. 3 is setting. So is it going to be urban or rural? Here we go. 4. 4 gives us first person rural. So we need to find a book that is set in a rural setting and is told in the first person. Please put what you find in the comment section down below, and come back for the next video to find out which book I have found that fits these categories. And I will see you soon. Bye.